Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. It's the last Wednesday in Febtober. We are still getting plenty of snow. Thank goodness. Here's a great one. When New York City has more snow than we do up northern New York, things are going topsy-turvy. And it was great to watch the news today and watch them try to dig out while we were already completely situated. So why not we find somebody else who had to dig out of the snow? Because I figure he probably got about 40 feet because he's fairly close enough. So today's show, we are talking about, is politics not working for you? Meaning, hey, we hear all this chatter. We hear all these things that are out there. We hear everybody talking about it, and it's always the same thing. What team do you play for kind of mentality? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to see what we can do. So joining us to have that conversation all the way in, sunny, nobody's ever said sunny New Jersey, but I guess we can call it that. So joining us all the way from sunny New Jersey. Oh, and let's see how badly I should have asked beforehand, and I forgot to do it today. So let's see how bad I butcher his last name. It's Mr. Travis Misurell. Did I
Close. Misurell.
Misurell?
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
Almost there.
So, well, Travis and I are going to be talking about this, and if you know me, I'm a closet politics junkie who enjoys all those kind of things and having all those conversations. So we're going to get into it. We're going to see what his thoughts are and how his group, the Future Is Now Coalition, and how they do it. If you're looking for information as we're getting the show going here, it's hub.futureis.org. It's hub.futureis.org. So let's go ahead and take care of some of the house cleaning around here. As always, folks, we got the big board over my right shoulder for Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you believe in, something you'd like to see supported, don't care what it is. Maybe you're creating a new political group, like your name was Teddy Roosevelt, and you wanted to create your own party. I don't know. But whatever it happens to be, you can reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, X, whatever you want to call that one. Our website is theabovethebarpodcast.com. Our email is abovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to us. Let us know what you got going on. Tell me what you got happening. We'll throw that sticker right up there on the board for you. Oh, I forgot my sticker. Our sticker for today, if I can find it, that'll be going up there, is the Awesome Card Shop in Las Vegas, Nevada. They are a card shop. The owner is Marcel. Every day he does a pack a day for sports cards and different types of trading cards. He opens them, and he always has some kind of a contest where if he finds what particular card inside of the box, he'll give away a $25 gift card, and he'll always have another one. If he gets this other one, it's a $500 gift card. My wife and I went to their shop in Vegas last week during our national convention, and it was absolutely, absolutely awesome to check out. Already got some highs here from Lakeside Convenience. Hi, all. How you doing there, Lakeside? We appreciate you showing up. Let's talk about the people here that pay the bills. That's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Clifton Park, and Delmar. That is your North America's largest custom window treatment company, handling everything from blind, shade, shutter, drapery, you name it. They're handling it. Tint, window films. They can do it all, and it's all right here local. They measure, they install, they do everything, folks. You don't have to run around. February coming to a close for these folks. They're still doing 20% off your entire order for the month of February. But if you join them in March, it is going to be buy two, get one free in March. So make sure you're joining them in March. If you can't get it done now, that's buy two, get one free. And as always, folks, if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they're going to give you another 5% off that entire order. So make sure you're reaching out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Coxsackie, Schoharie, Clifton Park, and Delmar. All right, there, good sir. Travis, all the advertising, all the accoutrement, all my what would it be? My not my political pundits, my lobbyists. My lobbyists are finished. So all my lobbyists are finished. So give us kind of the lowdown of what the Future Is Now coalition actually is.
Sure. So Futures Not Coalition, also known as FiNC. Basically, the problem we're addressing is you're not choosing your own leaders. You're choosing between two options that were selected for you. And the wild thing is, millions of people want to run for office, good people, but gatekeepers, big money, mainstream media bury them before you ever see their name. So we're not trying to fix the system. We're actually building a new one, citizen owned, one fair place where every candidate can be seen and every citizen can be heard. We're the matchmaker that connects you with leaders who actually represent you. So that's what FiNC's building. It's a two-phase approach. Right now, we have the digital politics hub, which is the starting point to build the people power that we need. And then phase two is building digital democracy, which is the entire system with politician report cards and matchmaking system and just all like tons of different features that help you choose the candidates that actually will represent you, hold them accountable once they're in office, and then a lot of other features like connecting to journalists and movements and other nonprofits.
I want to go back to the citizen owned part. I mean, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate for a moment here. The Constitution says I own it as it is. So what's different between what you guys are trying to do from your movement and the fact that, if I was a constitutionalist, I would tell you, well, I already own it. It already says that I own this.
Well, like you can argue maybe that we own the government. The political system right now, I mean, especially lately, Democrats and Republican in leadership are actually saying that we're private organizations. We could choose whatever candidate we want. It actually went to court. It's been proven, to your point, that taxpayers, the Supreme Court, I think less than a decade ago, said that the taxpayers do own like the primary system, the primary process, the election process. But the parties are saying we're private corporations, so if we want to push a certain candidate, we should be able to, and
Really?
stuff like that. Yeah.
I did not know that was something that had gone through the courts.
Yeah. I didn't know until recently myself.
That's
but
interesting.
Yeah, so the thing that we're saying is citizen owned is really more of the candidate selection process. It's
Okay.
not the thing of being in government. It's how we decide who we want to choose. And whether we like it or not, most people don't. We're stuck in this two-party system right now. But and that would even be semi-fine. But we argue that there's all this gatekeeping, and now money in politics is almost completely unlimited and legal.
Oh, yeah.
And so you got the big money, big donors, special interests, media, empires, all that stuff. So we're not really, as citizens, picking our candidates anymore. Like, we think we have a choice, but it's basically like you get a Republican establishment choice, a Republican or a Democrat establishment choice, and then we get to pick between two people. Like, that is not democracy. We're just picking between two people.
What do you got now for you guys in the FiNC movement? What's your feeling on like ranked choice voting?
Love it. Not like we're as FiNC, we're very careful when we're landing on a specific policy stance.
Okay.
What we say is we support any kind of flexible voting method. Right now, it seems like ranked choice voting is by far the most popular right now. So it's up to what America wants, but we definitely say we want some form of flexible voting, and it does seem like ranked choice voting would be the choice. But if America wanted something different, we would follow whatever America wants.
Now, my question, like, do you want to? I don't know if everybody knows what ranked choice voting is. Do you want to explain it, or you want me to explain it?
Yeah, I'll explain it. Yeah, so basically, it's allowing you to choose your first, second, third choice of who you want to win, and therefore, if you vote for, let's say, like a third party independent or whatever, if your candidate doesn't win, your vote then goes to your second choice. And the idea is that if that was implemented, it would completely rip apart the two-party system. People wouldn't be scared of wasting their vote voting for their ideal candidate. We tend to vote for the lesser two evils because we're in fear. We rather pick the person that we don't love, but they're quote unquote electable, and that's why we vote for them. And it's poison.
I love that electable. Yeah. It actually drives me absolutely bonkers when I hear people say, "You're throwing your vote away on that third party candidate." drives me absolutely bonkers because I turn around and go, well, you're wasting your vote on this other guy because you're not voting how you really feel about things. And Orchid just jumped on. She says, "Hello, can't be too long tonight. I have a VA appointment at 8:30, but I'll come back if you're still." Thanks, Orchid. I appreciate you letting us know. uh, so so then one of the other things I noticed when I was doing a little bit of reading into you guys and understanding this, and look, folks, if you want to know more about what Travis has going on, you can check out hub.futureis.org, hub.futureis.org to see what they have going on. But one of the things that I noticed on there, you don't talk left or right, which always drives me nuts. You talk about up and down. I mean, if I remember right, up was power, down was people.
Yeah.
How does this whole thing work in your conversations?
Yeah, so every conversation, if you look at, we have tons of videos and different content we're producing, and we are neutral in terms of left versus right. We want to show people that the true battle is up versus down. So up serving candidates are the ones, they serve big donors, they serve special interests, they serve those with more power to lift them up in their own power. Where down serving candidates are the grassroots candidates. So they'll turn towards small dollar donations. They actually want to represent you. They actually want to fulfill their promises. And so they want to be popular by the voter, get voter support, and that's how they rise through the ranks. And, so we want to be clear, like, we could fight forever about which is the lesser two evils between Democrat and Republican, and that battle pretty much will never end. But if we really change the lens and talk about up versus down, we're so much in the same camp of, like, we all are, most of us see it as there's a concentration of power that's the enemy. And just the way we've been conditioned, we're seeing it only one party is part of that. When it's both parties, it's the top part of both parties. It's not everyone in both parties, but it's the top half of both parties. And so we're just seeing the different parts. Like, Republicans tend to see the corruption within government. Democrats tend to see the corruption in the corporations outside of government. But it's like, no, it happens in both places. We need to deal with both problems. And, so that's the lens that we're trying, is one of the major lenses that we base kind of everything on.
It's interesting. So I got to go back a little bit then. So what, and I know this is kind of a cliche question for us, but what is it then that kind of put this together? Was this something you started on your own? Was this a group of you? How did this actually kind of come together? And when did you feel like, hey, my voice really isn't being heard here in the way I feel about this stuff?
Yeah, sure. So it's really all me. Now I have a whole team of about 17. We're always around between 17, 20 people that kind of part-time volunteers at this stage. But yeah, it's I started this about 3 years ago. Really, like, long story short, I mean, all my life I kind of saw the world a little differently. I'm neurodiverse, autistic, and I see like a lot of people that are neurodiversity, like different forms of pattern recognition. My pattern recognition is about demographics and personalities. Like, I see perspectives, I see how people's logic kind of goes in, so I could kind of like almost glimpse into the mind of a Republican, into a Democrat, and other kind of demographics outside of politics. So all my life I've been interested in that kind of thing, like more sociology, psychology. And then it was 2016 when it was really Trump versus Bernie, is when I finally really got it into politics. I saw they both ran as populists. You can argue one or both are fake populists. That's for you to decide. But they both spoke in a populist way, the forgotten man. They talked about the system being broken and rigged and all that stuff. And so they were the candidates that people wanted. But then I saw how Democrats treated Bernie, as much as that side liked him, whether you like him or not. That party, the voters on that side really loved him at the time.
Absolutely, they did.
And,
well, Bernie's an interesting because he's an independent.
Yeah.
I always say Bernie's interesting because as an independent who calls himself a socialist, he socialized the DNC. By being like, well, I'm just going to run on your ticket and spend your money, even though I'm not you. You got plenty, and I'm going to take your money. I always thought that was absolutely fascinating to me that he was able to do that. interesting you mentioned about the politics and money. And I know it sounds like you've kind of gotten into this stuff recently. I'm going to throw one out there to you. If you've read it, we'll talk about it. If not, I'll give you something to read it if it doesn't make you hate all of them, nothing will. Have you ever read the Powell Memorandum?
No.
If you ever get a chance, former Chief Justice Powell in 1971, and I wanted to read this to you. In 1971, he wrote, "Attack on America's free enterprise system." And the context of it was intended as a blueprint for a corporate takeover or defense of politics and culture as a narrative. So basically, what he did was he said, listen, here's how corporations can get involved in politics and you can protect your corporate interests. The big number is that prior to 1972, the Democratic Party got like 60 or 80%, no, 80% of their funding came from unions. They were very strong in the unions. Um, After 1976, they got 80% of their funding from corporations.
Wow.
So they abandoned the union while still saying they were for the union.
Yeah.
But that's also what happens in 1980. Reagan's elected and union busting starts, which to me has always been the downfall of the middle class in this country. That's a whole hey, look, we can talk politics today. I love it. This is my thing. I have this conversation all the time. So you come up with this idea, you come up with this movement. What was some of the, like, when you started reaching out to your friends and you're like, listen, I'm creating this entire thing and this is what I'm going to do. What were some of the reactions that you were getting?
Yeah, well, the hardest thing is really explaining the depth of what we're doing. Because like a lot of people have thought of or heard of something like having a politician report, like having some kind of politician
Political
social
report
media
cards.
network.
Yeah.
Yeah, like report cards and just generally like having profiles for these candidates. So that's not the new idea. And then for a while, people thought that that's all I'm talking about. And it's definitely a piece of it, but what's missing is like the key part that we're focused on is like really the people side, the movement side, giving people really feeling that they're going to have ownership in this, that they're going to help shape what happens with this. It's not just, hey, we're giving you a tool that helps you vote easier. We're talking about completely upgrading America's democracy and actually building a more direct democracy that actually holds the candidates accountable. It gives more visibility to grassroots candidates so they don't need to raise millions of dollars. They don't need approval from gatekeepers. If we showcase all the candidates on a level playing field and citizens have their choices on a menu, and it's not about who spent the most money, then we're actually going to vote based on merit and the policies that we actually agree on, and voting for somebody that actually is going to fulfill their promises. So like, yes, it's all around the technology, but it's more about the implications of the technology. I mean, everything we do in the world uses technology. It doesn't mean the tech should be the focus point of what it is. So people be like, oh, it's going to have this feature, that feature, this feature. And so it took a while to like shape it. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you and I are talking about, like money in politics and ranked choice voting, like that. We want to make those things possible and overcome the big problems of society. Yes, it's going to use the technology, but the technology is almost easy. It's really just, it's the buy-in, getting people to actually use this, trusting it, and then actually using this as an influence that helps them choose who they're going to vote for. That's the challenge, and that's what we exist to do, and that's what no other form of that kind of tech has tried to do the way we're doing it.
I love that. And listen, folks, if you're joining us, make sure you're dropping your questions into here. If you're finding Travis through us or us through Travis, those likes, shares, and follows mean something. But I'd like to hear everybody's questions about what we're talking about here. If you don't think politics is working for you, what are some of the ideas that you may have out there from a political standpoint? Because I think, like, I'll go back to ranked choice voting for a second. I learned out about that probably about 6 years ago, and I know there's a couple of states. I think Maine does it, and there's a couple others that do it. The whole country of Australia does it. There's a few, but what are some of the other, and that's really, I think, what we're talking about here, some radical ideas that aren't even presented to people. We don't even get, no one wants you to hear that, because how many states have, if I live in New York, I don't know how it is in New Jersey, but New York has done everything in their power to kill the third party. The third party is absolutely beat, beat down. It's almost impossible to do it. You actually have to pull a Bernie Sanders, invade one of the other two parties as a third party candidate and get enough opinions that say you're worth it. But what are some of the other ideas that in Futures Now coalition that you're trying to push for people to look into?
Yeah, well, in terms of legislation, a lot of it's not that obscure. Just like ending gerrymandering, a better way to decide on the districts. Eventually a path to completely getting money out of politics. Just different campaign finance reforms and other things to level the playing field. Where we focus right now the most is like we're working on like this is what is handed to us today. How do we bridge what we want from what we have? So for example, like one of the profile things, the first things that we're going to implement as we start rolling out politician profiles is like not just what party are you in, but then what is your political identity or political lens as a candidate, so that there's a space where somebody can say, well, I'm actually a Green Party, but I'm running as a Democrat, or I'm actually a Libertarian and I'm running as a Democrat. So it's like, it's almost like converting what it should be compared to what it is. We may or may not have to go into this about like, I have an idea in the next big general election to do a people's primary, where we actually run our own primary while the Dems and Republicans are doing a primary, where third parties could be involved, Democrats, Republican, anyone grassroots in the two parties, third party, independent. Everyone runs against each other. And even if it's not even legislated everywhere, there might be a couple states that maybe we could work on, where there's some test grounds we're doing with Nevada now. Even if it's not legal, the goal, going back to that thing we we're talking about, electability, is just showing how likely a third party candidate could win, because pretty much the number one reason third parties can't win is because people don't believe they can win.
That's it.
But so for example, with the people's primary, we might show you, hey, look, in this Senate race in this state, it looks like the Libertarian it has gained so much support in our primary that if in the general election, if you vote for them, they have a very good chance to win. But, over here in the House, in this one other seat, the Green Party's running, they didn't really get that much support in the primary. So, you decide if you want to vote for them or not. We're going to let you know that maybe they're not going to have a good chance of winning. And so we give you we're going to give you a realistic expectation of if your candidate really has a chance to win, that's the outside the box candidate can win or not. So it's like things like that, where we're working with today's system, but creating like using the rules differently, but using the system that we have today. Because we can't get the wolves to lock their own cage. We're not expecting the ranked choice voting to happen yet, so we're not going to count on ranked choice voting happening yet. But in our digital primary, people's primary, we will have ranked choice voting in our primary, because we could do it in house. So it's like things like that we're trying to change, reshape the system, and then it also allows people to get more comfortable with those concepts. It's almost like a practice round of doing ranked choice voting within our platform, before you go into the general election.
So this is a great question from Lakeside, and I appreciate your question there, Lakeside. Little off topic, but I heard that Ro Khanna and Massey might run on a bipartisan ticket in 2028. Thought that was kind of cool. Has this ever happened before? Well, guess what? You'll love this. Abraham Lincoln was a bipartisan ticket. In the midst of the Civil War, Republican President Abraham Lincoln dropped his Republican VP, Hamlin, and ran on a national union ticket, which I didn't know that, with Andrew Johnson, a pro-union Democrat from Tennessee. In 1796, Adams and Jefferson was the original electoral system, the person with the most, and I believe in, see, this is my thing right here. In the original electoral system, the person with the most votes became president, and then the vice president, the runner-up, became the vice president.
Yeah.
Which I always thought that made sense. Other notable occurrences was 1840. The Whig Party had William Henry Harrison choose John Tyler, a Democrat, And I didn't realize this one. In 1980, Republican John B. Anderson ran for president on an independent ticket with Patrick Lucy, a Democrat, as his running mate. Very, very interesting. And then, while not ultimately chosen, bipartisan pairings have been discussed in recent history, with John McCain seriously considering Joe Lieberman. I remember that for the 2008 running mate. I remember that with Joe Lieberman. But that's an absolutely great. So this is not, and I want you to understand this, folks. When we talk about things like this, they like to tell us, well, this has never happened before. This is unprecedented. This has never been seen before until you look it up and you go, wait a sec, this has happened like 5 different times in modern politics. But my best friend Ken, always says this about third party, and I would love to get your thoughts on this as somebody who spends a lot of time. I'm a big third party guy. He always says the problem with third party is they like to run for president, governor, uh, the biggest offices they can find, but they're not willing to run for dog catcher, county superintendent, any of these other parties that build a grassroots infrastructure where you can see enough of their work done to say, hey, you know what? That guy right there, he did a really good job locally. We should talk about him moving up. Hey, matter of fact, he surrounds himself with other people in that way. How does in with something like FiNC on that lower level,
Mhm.
and I like Finch better. I'm gonna tell you, I like Finch better. I know there's no H.
Finch.
And the only reason I say that is because when I hear FiNC, I think of the term rat fink,
I know
and,
some people say that. I
and
know.
I'm like, you don't like that because that's not what this is. But and it's kind of two part here because I had another thought earlier. So with this, will you be trying to? Is it we're looking at that big congressional, House of Representatives and Senate kind of thing, or is this going to get down to that very local dog catcher level? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, let me get through all three parts there. In terms of like right now, like I understand why third parties can't build that infrastructure. Maybe several decades ago it would have been more possible, but I mean, like right now it takes yeah, I'm talking about more federal level, but like it takes millions of dollars to run right now. So third parties, it's kind of almost literally impossible to build infrastructure from the ground up with that much like the amount of money that needs to be raised. That's why they go for the high tickets. Like if they just pool all their money, they could do just enough for a couple candidates, to get into the fold. It's all an infrastructure problem. See, part of what we want people to look at in what we're doing, we want to build shared infrastructure that, instead of needing the Green Party to have its own infrastructure, independents, Democrat, Republican, we want one big digital shared infrastructure that all the third parties can run and all the independents can run. Like the idea is this will ultimately replace having specific infrastructure to run your candidate. We should just have democracy infrastructure, and every American knows this is the digital embodiment of America's democracy. This is where all the candidates are. This is how you know who they are. This is how candidates get their visibility and try to prove to you why they're the best candidate. So that's why they can't win is just how much money it takes to run, and doing it on all those different levels would just be such insanity and coordination, in coordination and infrastructure money, all that stuff. And then and so I forget if that answered the middle question too.
Yeah,
I know
there's a lot. There was a lot going on
yeah,
there, but
I have the
you
yeah.
also kind of bring up another thought here to me though. So if everything from a platform was in one centralized location, your platform, or that somebody up above says, hey, we'll grab this and run with it. How we hear right now people say that, hey, IDs, and I think this is dumb. We're well beyond this socially, because we need an ID for everything. But that, oh, you make people have an ID to vote. That's racist. That's Jim Crow laws and things of that nature. What would be your feeling? Because I mean, there's still a lot of locations in America. It's hard for people to believe that don't have internet, don't have good service, don't have access to free internet. And if I can only get my politics off of this website infrastructure here, am I not doing the same thing? And I'm keeping people away from the political process without allowing them to have access to it because maybe they don't have the internet.
Yeah, fair question. Yeah, and there is a minority, a lot of the rural areas, that is a legitimate question. I mean, part of what we're envisioning is, ultimately all politics would run on a digital infrastructure. And so like we're calling this a meta movement. It's a movement of movements. And so, for example, at some point we would envision that there would become nonprofits that'll actually go into those areas. They would bring like Starlink and other kind of satellite
Okay.
internet. They would do their volunteer work. Their nonprofit work would be that during election season they would provide either like just Wi-Fi pockets that people could just go into the area and tap in near election season. They could go to libraries and, like, I guess they call media centers now. And so that would be a concern that we would want to ensure, because we want everyone to have access, even like, homeless people on the street. If they don't have a phone, there should be, we want to figure out some way that everyone will have this access around election season at least. It's a valid challenge that we envision that being a problem. And I envision that once this all pans out, that there would be the nonprofits that would focus on that stuff. There's plenty of existing nonprofits that have rural interests, farmer interests, things like that. And so there might not be free public internet, but we would ensure nonprofits would come to the area. There's also the thing about this, it's the same equivalent. I mean, they still have to go out to vote right now, but it's the same equivalent as, like, some people don't get a ride to the voting poll, and they have a lot of this infrastructure. They have a lot of nonprofits that'll drive people to the polls.
Right.
So those same types of people would provide internet, because you could bring satellite internet even temporarily. So there's stuff like that we would envision in the long term. And again, like, if all politics started upgrading like everything else in the world, like you want a cheeseburger, you could see the ratings, you can order it on your phone, you got an Uber driver, you have the ratings of your Uber driver, you could, everything else in this world is on the internet except for politics, like the most important parts of politics. You get a job, you have to apply online. And like Social Security now, I hear maybe it's in only certain states, you have to do it online now. Social Security is elderly. Yeah. So, that is where we're at. And the fact that there's not internet in different areas, that is a big concern of the minority rural voters that we also want to represent and make sure that they get their interests met, because rural people get screwed over by the current system.
Oh, 100%. And my aunt, she's out in Montana. She said there's no free internet around here and lots of no service in places. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of. And when you talk about getting screwed over by politics, if you want to hate every system we have, folks, go watch 60 Minutes from this past weekend when they were in a small town in West Virginia, a coal town, where they can't. We all know about the Flint, Michigan water. You should see this place's water where it's been polluted by the coal. They turn it on, it's brown, it's black, it's all completely. And when they ask in West Virginia, like, hey, what are you going to do for me? They're like, we'll get back to you. My favorite line for those people is, well, why don't you move away? Well, why do I have to leave my home and where my family is because you guys are stealing money? It's like the people yesterday. Oh, everything's up 50,000 points. Well, that's great that the billionaires got extra billions. That's awesome. But the rest of us are still trying to figure out why 3 bags of groceries are $250, and why here where I live at in upstate New York, my electric bill physically doubled this year. Physically doubled.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I did like the comment yesterday that to make the big tech companies are going to have to start building their own power plants. Did you hear that?
I didn't read into. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
something about that.
The big tech companies need to build their own power plants to support their tech places, which puts more power back into the grid. I love that idea. I did like that one. Yeah. Nate, my buddy Nate, he's out in Western Maryland. No free internet out there either. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like I know very few places. Like Philly
Oh
had it
no,
for a
no one
while.
has. Yeah, very few places have free
Yeah,
internet.
Philly had it for a while. I don't know if they still do it down there, but they had some kind of a mesh network that they were trying to work off in Philly. But again, those are very hackable. So if you understand it in any way, shape, or form, you end up avoiding them. Now back to the ranking system for a second. And again, folks, if you're just joining us and you want to know what Travis has got going on, you can check out hub.futureis.org. It's absolutely a beautiful website. I don't know who built your website, but I
Okay.
love this image on the front with the glasses reminding me of the movie They.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
that was perfect. I love that. I saw it right away. I was like, oh, I know this movie. But going back to this for a minute, in your process of like, and I want to get an idea of like some of the top things that you're using to grade these folks on, because I know there's a couple of them there that like Tom Massey gets like a 75% freedom rating, where guys like Leslie is it Graham? Graham. Yeah, Leslie
Mhm,
Graham.
mhm.
He gets like a 25, and
Yeah.
they call him a rhino. And for those who don't know what a rhino is, it's a Republican in name only. Are you looking to kind of is this looking to be? And I know you said bipartisan, but is it looking to also call a spade a spade? Like, hey, based on these rankings here, this guy calls himself a Republican, but he's really a rhino. Hey, this person calls himself a Dem, but they're really a green. You know, how is this, how are you looking to do this? Is there going to be something like that, or is it just more like 1 to 10, 10 they fall square dab in what their policies should be based on their political leanings? 1, they ain't nowhere near it, and I don't know what they're calling this. How is this
Mhm.
ranking going to work?
Yeah, what you just offered is a different angle. I'm gonna say how it's been. I'm gonna consider a little bit of what you said as an add-on. But so as it stands, as the vision is right now, we're kind of like, I mean, because identity is like what they call it. People call themselves. It's so hard to argue what you're this, you're not a that. Like like I said earlier, you'll be like, this is what you are like registered as, and then this is how you identify. Like some people want like new things. Like some candidate I was talking to a couple days ago was saying they're going to call themselves a new American. They're a Democrat, but they're a new American. Like we're gonna have kind of open ended labeling system. But to your main question, like I mean, without a doubt, the way we want to do is like these are their policies, but then this is how consistent they are on their policies. Do they actually fight for their policies once they're in office? So we wouldn't say like, oh, like I mean, maybe there'd be a gauge of like, I mean, can't just be like they're actually a Democrat, they're a Green, they're this. It might be like, I mean, maybe we do some stuff on the left versus right spectrum, like policy by policy, like how far that policy would stand between left and right. But the biggest thing is like this is their policy stance, but then this is how they actually act in office. They're not like they say they're for money out of politics, but then when every time the vote comes up, they don't support any bills for campaign finance reform, and like so that's going to be a major thing. And then we're gonna reveal everyone's funding sources. I mean, that's a crazy thing that nobody knows, that most people don't know, is like funding sources are public knowledge right now. Like right now, you go to opensecrets.org and you could see any federal and state candidate. It's not user friendly. It's not that the easiest stuff to sort through, but you can see how much big money they get. You could see what industries their money comes from. We're going to like aggregate that along with other polling data and other funding sources, and Unusual Whales tracks insider trading of Washington. We would aggregate that. So like we're tracking like who's funding their campaign, the insider trading stuff, what kind of money are they making on the stock market based on their policy stances. So like those are the main ways that we want to track up versus down, and generally we just want to make sure that, are you consistent? Are you actually going to run? Are you actually going to fulfill your promises? And then when you don't, we want there to be consequences. So it should be easy for citizens to know, hey, you lie 80% of the time. You don't actually even try to fulfill your promises. So now you're actually going to get voted out next election. Right now, since journalism died, mainstream media journalism died, there's no accountability for candidates. If you're a Republican news feed, you're going to be Republicans are doing well, Democrats are doing horrible, and vice versa. There's never, they're never going to actually, or like, they don't objectively rate those candidates like, hey, well, this guy promised this and didn't do that. No, it's all, it's all left versus right. At least mainstream media, not
Right.
necessarily independent journalists.
And that's I'm curious about something as you mentioned where the funds come from because I have a personal opinion on this and listen, there ain't nobody listening to me, so I'm not worried about Mossad not kicking down my door. But would you guys be willing to put on there if somebody's getting money from IPAC? Like I think that's a big thing right now. It's a big conversation where either politicians are very willing to say, hey, this needs to stop or it needs to go away. I mean, but if you don't know what IPAC is, folks, take a moment and read. But it's the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee where they do a ton of financing and donating to candidates, but don't have to, for whatever reason, they're exempt from reporting it. They don't have to say who they gave money to and when they gave them money, and they don't have to report the amount. Is that something that for your guys group, you're kind of like, hey, we're bipartisan. If you're taking it, be honest about it. How would you guys feel about something like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the scariest thing in the world.
We're totally against the like APAC is just it's still a super PAC. I mean, virtually every kind of super PAC is a bad thing. There's regular PACs that are not always bad. That gets a little gray, but like pretty much every kind of super PAC is a bad thing. There is I'm trying to remember the website. It's like Stop APAC or Track APAC. There's a site that's dedicated to tracking the APAC sources. Yeah. And that would be another thing that we would want to aggregate into the system. Yeah, any form, even unions, that's for the American people to decide. I don't know how negatively we would grade it, but if somebody's taking a lot of money from unions, is that considered big money? Like, some people think that is. And like, so, we have to carefully figure out how to navigate that one. Maybe you kind of have a choice if you want to count it against them or something. But yeah, no, APAC and anything, it's just, there should not, I mean, it's just insanity that any of that is legal. That should not be, you should not be able to, it's legal. It's literally just legal bribery. This is like, any corporation can just give endless money to these politicians, so, but yeah, so absolutely. That's something that we're against, that like APAC, just any interest that's giving you the candidate money. They try to say, oh, well, I'm already doing the policy. The money is just to support what I'm already doing. No. There's back end deals. There's always a wink and a nod. There's no way a corporation is giving you like $10 million and they don't want something in return. That there's something happening behind the doors.
And Lakeside again says, sounds like FiNC is going to face some serious institutional resistance. I'm rooting for them, and I applaud you both for bringing awareness to this. Something needs to change. I actually just dropped in to the chat, folks, that PAL memo. I advise everyone, take a minute to read it. You will just be like, seriously, this is what I deal with every day now from a political landscape. This is every bit of it. It's the whole 9 yards. It's a pretty wild thing. Look, real quick here, folks, we're getting close to closing time here. Last call at the bar. So, it gave me. See, I rewrite my ad. End of the month ad. Not Valentine's. It gave me a Valentine's ad. It doesn't do me any good. Listen, if you're still looking for your Valentine, folks, I can't help you, but maybe a bottle of New Scotland can. Finishing strong, folks. We're closing out the month, and if you've been grinding, building, pushing, and showing up, this pours for you. This episode is brought to you by New Scotland Spirits, small batch, handcrafted whiskey made right here in upstate New York. Bold flavor, smooth finish, zero shortcuts. You handled the deadlines. You survived the meetings. You made it happen. Now close the month the right way. Head to newscotlandspirits.com and grab a bottle that finishes as strong as you do. New Scotland Spirits, earn the pour. All right. So what can folks do there? Real quick here before I even get in. Again, folks, if you're joining us, making sure you check out hub.futureis.org. And Instagram is future is at future is, isn't it? What's the Instagram?
At future is org. It's what I have on under my name here. At future is org.
Right. So you can follow Travis over there. Make sure you give him that support. What kind of support are you looking for right now from folks? What are you saying? Like, hey, like if people could do this for me, I can take this to the next level.
Yeah, the main thing is right now we need to prove demand. We need to prove that we're resonating with citizens. There's a whole thing right now that this year there's more people identifying as independent than the two parties, and that no one can gather, no one knows who they are, no one knows how to appeal to them. So if we prove that we're getting citizens in general, independents, people that want stuff outside the box, that is extremely valuable. So that's where if you go to our hub.futureis.org, become what we call a citizen architect, which means you're basically in support of this. You want to help spread awareness. You might tell some friends, some family. On the site, it just adds your name and support. That adds that demand thing. There's surveys that are there now and are going to come up to, like, what does America really want for policy stances? We're doing a focus now in Nevada next month and during this primary where there's actual candidates in Nevada that want to actually represent you, that wants to shape their own policies based on what their constituents want, and they just don't know what that is in a nonpartisan framing. And so we're going to be working on that in Nevada, and then that's going to kind of be an example to spread it out. But anyway, so nationwide, though, become a citizen architect, become a future owner of digital democracy. When you add your name, you become a future owner. We didn't get into it in this episode.
Get into it now. Get into it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So basically, the way the legal structure is going to be is that digital democracy, the tech itself, is going to literally be citizen owned. So it's basically like every American can opt into an equal ownership stake of the technology. And the idea is that it'll be like a private entity, but owned privately, but owned by every American. Like, you turn 18, you register to vote, and you sign up for ownership of digital democracy. It's basically you get like one share. Everyone gets one share. You can't buy two shares. You didn't opt in and you don't have any share, or you have one. And so it's literally going to be citizen owned. So putting your name on that gets you started on that direction. And again, just prove demand. There's different, what we call micro actions, ways to help spread the word over social media, amplify us, amplify independent media, journalists, podcasters that we're starting to connect with, candidates, as we start bringing in candidates in the next coming months. There's opportunity to help amplify them, because people don't realize, like, if you like a grassroots candidate that doesn't have as much money, they rely on social media to get the word out, as we are as well. So just helping, if you're just 5 minutes a couple times a week on your phone and you're sharing an independent journalist or independent candidate, it actually helps these people. It helps those that are against the establishment. It pushes them up the algorithms of social media. So do it for us, do it for them, and that's part of what our hub is building right now. It's still in its infancy, but we're updating it almost weekly, and there'll be more and more actions you could take. Our Discord is our official online community. We just finished revamping and restructuring it, so that's where people could talk about this stuff without the partisan battle. We have a way to talk about it. Like, we have Democrats, Republicans, socialists, anarchists in this movement. We have people all across the board that absolutely love what we're doing. And we just need to we have to scale it up, prove that we can do this in large numbers, prove that this is something America wants. And then again, the rest of the technology is a snap. It's just, we need the buy-in, we need the oversight of the citizens, the setup to give you guys the ownership. And then we could, the tech actually already exists with different organizations. Once we have the buy-in, we can pull them in, lock them in under a citizen-owned infrastructure, and ensuring that you, as the citizens, have the oversight of the technology, and then we're in business. So the buy-in is the hardest part, and kind of almost the last step. The tech is already there. So yeah, join us on the hub, spread the word, tell people over social media. We have a thing of plugging in different, if there's a journalist you trust, plug them in. If there's a candidate you trust, plug them in. There's like a form for you to fill out, and we'll reach out to them and try to pull them into our network. And we just want to connect everyone, again, across all political beliefs, as long as you actually want a democracy and you actually want the people to be represented and not just the status quo, then you should be part of this. And we want to help everyone from independents to two-party, better Democrats, better Republicans, third party, independent, doesn't matter. We want to help everyone just get better candidates.
So then, and so that kind of, and I love the idea of it. And again, folks, check out hub.futureis.org. How are you going to scrub through the noise of all these different folks telling you, I heard Travis don't like dogs. You might want to put that in his profile. Sean, I heard Sean don't like dolphins. Dolphins, he don't like them. Like, how do you scrub through that noise that isn't true, isn't real, to make sure that this scorecard you're going to give someone and these thoughts that you're going to give, so that somebody like myself, when I'm getting ready to go to the polls and go, you know what, I'm going to go see what FiNC says about these candidates. Let me go take a look and see how he scored these people. How are you scrubbing through that noise to make sure it's real?
Yeah, great question. The data that tracks that stuff, the actual report card, is not just he said, she said data. Like, this is coming from the FEC website, opensecrets.org. They only take it from official sources. The tracking promises is going to be a little bit harder, most likely going to plug in a little bit of AI for that kind of thing. But the report card themselves, it's non-negotiable. It's going to be a very set system. Eventually, we're going to do it where different organizations could build their own rating system. So you could say, here's what FiNC did as aggregated data based on their funding sources. But let me see, I want to see what a movement I like. Let me see how they graded them. Let me see how the NRA grades them. Let me see how any kind of company or anyone that wants any organization could eventually create a profile and then score their own candidates in their own way. And so it's like, if you don't want to trust our rating system and basing it off of funding sources, you can let others build their own. Others could have their own rating systems. So eventually it just gets wider and wider. Like, the scope is kind of endless of like what a digital democracy can mean for America. And like, as soon as we have the buy-in, it's a cheaper, more efficient way to do politics. Right now, the current system costs billions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
If we're just, if everyone is just showcased in one place online and you don't have to do all this crazy stuff, like, it's just so much more efficient and cheaper and more democratic. So it's a total win-win. And then we could build out like tons of different features, virtual town halls, different ways for communities to talk on the local level. It starts more federal and state is easier to pool the aggregated data, but we immediately want to have some ways for local to have their own sections. There's both both report cards where it's aggregated data, and then there's also a politician profile, which is what they have control over as the candidate. They can express whatever they want on their profile. That's not necessarily vetted. There'll be like probably different kind of warnings that we'll put on there, but the report card is what they can't control. Profile is what they can control, and that's where they can express themselves.
I tell you, as you're talking, one of the things that came to mind to me, I would love something with what you're talking about, where it took, because there is a lot of other places that, even the NRA gives a report card. All these different groups give a report card. I would love to see something that, hey, this is the report card from all these different groups. This is your report card that's drawing that together. This is how they're seen within these groups. This is how how we see them. We're getting ready to close it up here in the next couple minutes. What would you say, like, the top 3 grading parameters that you're looking at? Because that to me, I'll be honest with you, all the other stuff sounds interesting. I think you're really in an uphill battle. It's very possible, but I love the idea that I can go somewhere and in one central location be like, all right, let me take a look at this. Travis is running for dog catcher. Let me see if he even likes dogs. If he's a cat person and he's only going because he wants to be mean to dogs. Let me find out what's being said here. I love the idea of that. What's like the top 3, parameters or questions that you're using?
So is this you're talking about the report card thing, or like what we would
I
ask
love the
actual
report card.
candidate?
The report card part for a candidate, like I said, I know I keep going back to that, but that's where, is politics not working for you? Yes,
Right.
because I look at candidates and I go, I only know what his commercials say. I know
Right.
what his website says. I know
Yeah.
what her publicist just said, but I don't have and even these other sites, if I go to the NRA site right now, Chuck Schumer is the devil. But if I go to, some other site, they might say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's their opinion. I love the idea of something that's so down the middle that says, here's our parameters. This is what we're looking at. What is the top 3 that you're looking for?
Yeah. So in that scenario, it's definitely like big donor. The percentage of big donor money versus small dollar money is so huge.
Love that.
And then with that, we want to show you what are the top industries that the money's coming from.
Oh, I like that.
Because even if you're going to rationalize that they need to get the money somewhere, like, if your number one issue is healthcare, for example, don't vote for somebody that takes $10 million from private insurance and big pharma. Like, that is a conflict of interest. Like, so we want to make it very clear to follow the money, see the conflicts of interest right in front of you. So those would be the scoring, and then the consistency on promises. Like, how often do they even attempt to fulfill their actual promise? It's going to be a harder one because bills are crazy these days. There could be like, what do they say? Like, there'll be like a marijuana bill on an immigration bill. Like, they mix them. So, like, there's a lot of complications there, but we'll figure it out. It'll be a challenge with a bunch of developers. But so that would be an important scoring. So those are like kind of the main things. And then some of the stock market stuff, like, is there conflicts of interest directly that where they're investing their money in the stocks? I mean, you look at I watch the Unusual Whales, the charts that they show sometimes, and like, most congressmen became millionaires just by like, as soon as they got into office, all of a sudden their stocks just always go up and they just made millions of dollars.
It's like, Judith, I was a genius beforehand. It's just I've never been able to figure out how somebody makes $175,000 a year. I think it's what they make now. Makes $175,000 a year. Somehow is worth $30 million. Yeah. And you didn't invent anything. You didn't have anything. It's wild. Yeah. But one of my closest and oldest friends just said, your Baltimore accent shines through when you get going. It really does. If I get my attitude about me, I definitely get it going. So again, folks, check out what Travis has got going on. Even though he's from New Jersey, this makes absolute sense to me. I like that. It's hub.futureis.org. If you're finding us through Travis or Travis through us, make sure you're joining us next week. Next week, we have a gentleman on named Mike Campbell, and we're talking about life after the Marine Corps. I was a Marine. Mike's 45 years old, father of 2, small business owner, a Marine veteran who's navigating the complexities of PTSD. His journey has been shaped by challenges he's faced in faith and has ignited a desire to change in his life and the lives of others. So we're going to talk about that. Online reselling, a business, all these different things. Join us next week as we talk to him. As always, folks, our guests are everything, and those folks that find us through them, you help grow this thing. Now, here's how this is going to work here, Travis. I don't know if you've binged. I don't even know how many episodes we're up to, like 300 and change. I don't know what we're up to now. If you didn't know it, folks, June will be 6 years we've been doing this thing. So we're coming up on it. But at the end of every episode, the guest always gets the final word. So for you there, Mr. Travis, what is our final word tonight?
Stop playing the rigged game, help build a better one. It's your voice, your ownership, your democracy.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in.
This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.